Okay, I got behind last class and did not finish up everything I had meant to cover right toward the end, so I ripped out all of the review slides tonight. So there'll be no review type stuff going on. So missed last time. Missed that. We are in the period of Jesus' life that we call the period of retirements. And we've already dealt with the first period when he went across to Bethsaida on the northeast side of the Sea of Galilee and fed the 5,000. That's the big event that went on with that first retirement. So tonight we'll start digging in. Disclaimer, got to get on the video. We'll start digging in tonight to the second retirement and go in from there. So in the second getaway, if you will, get away from Galilee, get away from the Pharisees, the problems they're giving him, get away from the people, and move out. So he talks to his apostles. He goes to the region of Tyre and Sidon. So if you look at the map, this is the north end of the Sea of Galilee. So Sea of Galilee sits here. Of course, Capernaum here, Bethsaida, we've been doing all around here. But now he's going to Tyre, then up to Sidon, which is way up on the Phoenician coast over here, outside of the Jewish area, outside of Galilee. We're going to move to this side. Here's a couple of shots. This is back to the late 1800s. These pictures were made, so it's before a lot of the modernization stuff you might see there now. Another shot of Tyre, and this one that it's Sidon. So we'll go to the sea coast, along the Phoenician coast, along the Mediterranean Sea over there. So a woman comes to him whose daughter has a demon, an evil spirit, and she is pleading with him to help her. And she even says, Lord, and Matthew records it, Lord, Son of David, which means she's got to know something about him and his background or the background of the Jewish nation to relate that to that. And Matthew, we've already talked about several times, mentions the Son of David a lot, because he's writing to the Jews. So she asks for help for her daughter. Jesus didn't say anything to her. He just ignored her, it seems like. And so the apostles there that are with him are saying, send her away. She's attracting attention to us. She keeps on with us, following us around, dealing with us. So why is he doing this? Why is he refusing to acknowledge her, to help her out? He's done a lot of healing already. He's cast out demons before, so there's nothing new. So why is he treating her like this? Well, I don't know. So what's the reaction of the apostles during all this time? See, they're not having any pity, care for her, it seems like. Send her away, get away. So why are they acting that way? She's a Gentile. He's been across to the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee before, and healed the man that was in the caves that would cut himself and all this. So it's not the first time he's dealt with a Gentile. One writer I was reading from says that maybe he was testing them to see what their reaction to it was. Maybe he just let it alone to see how the apostles react to it. I don't know, but he didn't there for a little while. But she keeps on. Finally, she falls down at his feet, begging him to help her daughter. And he goes to this thing of talking to her and said, I didn't come here to do this, my time's not ready for this, I came to the lost sheep house in Israel. And he tells us, she talks about, you're feeding them, but crumbs fall down that the kids put on the table, and all I want is just a crumb. All I want is just a crumb. And even when he says something about, calls her, refers to as the dogs, then, is that yours, Johnny? Yes. Place to sit out here. So she used a different term for dogs when she comes back in. She talks about a little puppy. I just want what a little puppy might eat. Just a little bit of crumbs here that might come down from that. So when he does this, he grants her request. But the question is, why did he grant her request? What did he say when he dealt with her? Go your way, go home, your daughter's fine. Why? Because of the faith that she has shown. He specifically references her faith when he talks about why he did what he did for her. He's not only Christian to Gentiles. He says that very plainly. And she is a Gentile. She's outside of that Jewish area there up in the Phoenician coast. She was a Canaanite, the text says, a Syro-Phoenician. But Jesus takes this time first and just lets her wait. And then when she keeps on and begging him, he does tell her to go home. And she goes home and finds her daughter on the bed, and the demon has left her. She's gone. So that's the event that happens in Tyre when this second retirement, when he's pulled away from there. Then he leaves there, and best we can tell, he goes up from Tyre, up through Sidon. This happened in Tyre, up through Sidon, and then back down, picture from here up to Sidon, and back down, got around, and comes down to the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee. So you kind of picture the map in your mind there. And gets away over there. Now again, not going back to Galilee, where he's trying to get away from all the people there. A lot of people here, though, when he gets there. So here's the map again. Tyre up the side, then back down. He's going to actually wind up down this area over here. With the next events we're going to see on the eastern side. This whole area here is called the Decapolis. 10 cities that make up that, but that's generally referred to. So here's where it's going to be, the feeding of 4,000. Of course, again, question mark at the end of it, like most all these places are, not sure. This Hippus here, we'll show a picture in a minute, and you're going to see this spot right here referred to. So when you look at the picture, think about this area here, and then if you put the picture in perspective, there it is. So it's looking at the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee. He talks about going to a mountain, sitting down. That's where he starts teaching. Very similar to the same thing he said when he did the Sermon on the Mount. He went to the mountain to sit down, which was apparently a normal way for the rabbis to do their teaching. Get them down and sit down on the mountain there and talk to them. So some more shots of that coastline on that eastern side over there. So Matthew and Mark talk a little bit differently about what the crowds come to. And Matthew talks about all the different ones they're bringing, the blind, the mute, the lame, et cetera, and he's doing all this healing over there. And again, we're in Gentile territory. This is not the Jews he's dealing with. Keep that in mind for this part here. Mark specifically brings up a case. So Matthew's more generic with it, with all the different healings that's going on, where Mark seems to center in on one particular case that's there with this man who can't hear and has a speech impediment that he's dealing with. So Jesus, even it says takes him aside. He doesn't, like he's not doesn't him out there with everybody around. Takes him aside, puts his fingers in his ears and saliva on his mouth and says, "Be opened." And immediately then he could hear and he could speak. So the healing of this deaf man who could not speak is the first event that we have when he's over on the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee. He tells them to tell no one. A little bit different what he did when he healed the man that had the chains, that had the demons, the legion of demons. He said he wouldn't go with him. He said, "No, you go back out and spread the word down here." Here it says, "Don't tell anyone." Perhaps because he's trying to spend more time with the apostles, he wants to stay away from them. I don't know. But he's got 4,000 people to feed, so I don't know exactly how it works out with the crowds here with that a little bit. One interesting thing here. Matthew 15, verse 31. So the multitude marveled when they saw the mute speaking. Talking about this man we just talked about. And the maimed made whole, the lame walking, and the blind seeing. And they did what? They glorified the God of Israel. Now, if this had been occurring over in Galilee, what would you expect that last line to say? They glorified God. Period. So the difference here is they glorified not their gods, What happened is Gentiles, they glorified God of Israel, recognizing where Jesus came from, okay, as the Jews. So a little interesting tidbit tied on to that because of where he is over there. So, thoughts here. This gets a little bit complicated. We're going to run through here a minute. He's in Decapolis, on the east side of Sea of Galilee. He's healing and dealing with Gentiles. He's not to feed the 4,000, which would be Gentiles he's dealing with there. Now look at Mark chapter 7. We'll read you a few verses. We'll think about this for just a minute. You have the block up here says thoughts. So if you have some thoughts about this, we'll share them and talk about it for a minute. Mark 7, starting at verse 14. When he called the multitude to himself, he said to them, "Hear me, everyone, and understand. There's nothing that enters a man from the outside which can defile him. But the things that come out of him, those are the things that defile a man. If anyone has ears to hear, let him hear." When he entered the house away from the crowd, the disciples asked him concerning the parable. So he said to them, "Are you thus without understanding? Also do you not perceive that what enters a man from the outside cannot defile him, because it does not enter his heart, but his stomach, and is eliminated, thus purifying all foods." That's the phrase over Kim right there. Thus purifying all foods. What does it mean by that? Thus purifying all foods. A couple more things. That same passage, verse 19 from that was New King James. The American Standard says, "This he said, making all meats clean." Revised Standard, New Revised Standard, in parentheses, it says, "Thus he declared all foods clean." And the New International says, he said this, Jesus declared all foods, quote, clean, end quote. So, thoughts? What's he saying when he says he declared all foods clean? Who's he talking to? Gentiles. They have any dietary restrictions like the Jews? No. But what do the Jews have? They don't eat anything unclean, particularly pork, right? Okay. The first thing that comes to mind with us is they don't eat swine. Don't eat pigs. Don't eat anything that's not a clean animal that's defined by the law of Moses. So what's he mean when he's talking to these Gentiles? He says, he said this, making all foods clean. I don't know for sure. That's why I said thoughts. If you look, remember Peter later on, Acts 10 and 11, when he goes to Cornelius, what did Peter have to be convinced of? That it's okay to go in the house of the Gentiles, right, and deal with them, but how did God go about doing it? You have to sheep down with all kinds of animals in it, until Peter to kill and eat. He said, "No, can't do that." Well, yeah, you can too. I'm telling you, you can. So he was making known to Peter that time that all foods were clean, okay, because he's included the Gentiles. Here he is in Gentile territory. And the statement was put in there, he made all foods clean. Perhaps a reference to the fact that now in his new kingdom, he's going to suck the Gentiles into it as well. Everybody's clean now. So just a little phrase stuck in out there that we might just read across if we don't think about it a little bit. He said, just purifying all foods. So I don't know if that's what all it includes with that. I can see where dealing with the Gentiles, he would relate that to the fact that they would be clean also. All right. Thoughts? Anybody on that? Anything?
Just a way to add to it, it would also be a well-known distinction.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah. So they're talking about his point here is what comes out of the heart's what defiles man, not what goes into it. But he tacks a little phrase on there about all foods being clean, talking to the Gentiles. So the multitude now again on the east side, not with the Jews, but Gentiles. Multitude hear Jesus, the crowds get larger and larger and larger, and they've been with him for 3 days, it says, listening to him teach and the healing that he's been doing. And now they've run out and don't have anything to eat. So if they brought anything with them, it's gone, they have nothing. So Jesus again is having compassion on them, and he doesn't want to send them away because he says some came from afar, And they would actually say they would faint on the way home because they had not enough to eat. So he starts talking to his disciples, the apostles, again about how he's going to feed this crowd. You ask them, what do you have? They have this time 7 loaves. It doesn't distinguish barley loaves like it did last time, which specifically said 5 barley loaves. So 7 loaves and a few fish. So again, he has the crowd sit down like he did before, and he takes and gives thanks for it and distributes the food out to 4,000 men plus the women and children that were there. So again, don't know how many, possibly double the actual size they were thinking about. And he fed them, and then he, again, same thing he did with the 5,000. After he feeds them, he sends them home. So that's a real short version of feeding the 4,000, not a lot to it in the text from that standpoint. But let's talk about this a minute. This is not the only passage by far, but this is one of the passages that sometimes will get put in when people are looking for justification to feed people in order to be able to teach them. The fellowship hall type concept, if you will. Churches feeding people. Is there any indication at all that Jesus fed them so they had an opportunity to teach them? Contrary. What had he been doing for 3 days? Teaching and healing with them then. What did he do then at the end? Fed them and then what? Sent them home. Okay? It's nothing like, I got you here so I can teach you and I'm going to feed you in the process type things. There's nothing there at all in either one of the two, 5,000 or 4,000, that would lend itself to some of the justification that you hear of getting people to we're going to have a fellowship and bring people in, we'll feed them, they'll have an opportunity to teach them, as you hear it talked about sometime. In fact, in the feeding of the 5,000, what did he do with them? He had the physical food, and when you start talking about the spiritual food, what they do? They started turning back and leaving. That's where they quit following him. So many of them did. So, right the opposite of what this kind of used for today. That's certainly when you get to the early church and the apostles, there's no example of any this kind of stuff going on. So, it's a thought from that. Oscar, go ahead. Yeah, sure. Yeah. That's why I say during the time of the apostles, there's no reference to any of this kind of stuff like this going on. So don't take this thing here and try to make too much out of it, apply things that are not there to apply. So he gets now into a boat and it's going to leave the east side and go back over to the west side. And Mark calls it one name, Dalmanthia, I guess, and Magdala is what Matthew refers to it as. Now, don't get hung up over the different names. You've got a long period of time in history here. This could have been area could have been called one thing for a while, and then another group comes in and they call it something else. I think one commentator says, here's from Texas, there's one small town in Texas that was known as, I forgot what it was, some name, and he said the official name, though, of the city is, small village is something else, and all the old guys are all around 100 miles call it something else. He's got 3 different names. Any one would apply to that same place. So he kind of used that to illustrate this here. So he goes then from wherever it was over here, where he fed the 4,000, back across. This is Magdala here. And so there's some interesting things here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So here's Tiberias. Don't mention that. We know what it is. There's where he goes up there. And see this Arbel marked up here, right? Up there on that. There's some clues here and some things that I want to bring out, but I'd like to grab my resources I have available over here to bring out, such as that. So I did give it an email. I think those was coming ahead of time. So, feel free to talk about the next 3 or 4 pictures here and give a little knowledge on what do you know about this area here.
So go back to the map there. So Arbel, you guys may remember some of this from the first class that we did. You do remember the one I was tricked into teaching. There were the Arbel cliffs. I don't remember the pictures. Can you go ahead and flip to it? So you guys may remember these cliffs. So this would be like you're standing over toward like Pernium area, looking back over to the west. And so that's Arbel there. And so, but it's called the Arbel Pass, and this is the pass here. And so, if you'll go back to the map now. So like. So you're seeing Arbel here, and the other peak would be over there. So that's the pass there. And so, when you think about the Sea of Galilee, as you may remember from the first class, so, the Jezreel Valley comes down and connects like under the Sea of Galilee. But as the Jezreel Valley comes down, it kind of starts to spread out. And so you could be coming down the Jezreel Valley, like coming from Nazareth or anywhere back west. And you could come down south of the Sea of Galilee, or you could come around to this area. But if you come around to this area, you're going to be going through that pass. It's the only way you can get through there, but the main way that everyone would get through there. Now you could, if you're going to Tyre side, like we talked about earlier, you could go, straight north and up and around the sea as well. So there are a couple of different possibilities, but this is most likely where you would come through. You can go ahead. And so Magdala, so right here. So the pass would be, Arbel Cliffs, and the pass would be there. So Magdala is so it is a first century site. It was actually popular a couple of years ago as an active archaeological site. They were doing some new construction and found some first century ruins there. And so connection there to the first century. So I think, I'm not sure. So I guess that's your Arbel Cliff there. You're coming through. So Magdala is probably right there. So this is looking south. So that would be the Magdala there. Passes back through that way. Tiberias is there.
Okay. This is some thoughts here from the ruins that they found there at Magdala. My point is, they measure point where people are going to be traveling through there all the time. If you're going back that way, you're going to go through that pass there. And so that's that. And here's another Magdala shot from back in the early 1800s, some of the discoveries and things they did over there. Okay. When he gets there, now he's back in Galilee and Jewish territory. So away from the Gentiles, back in the home territory here. And the Pharisees, and we got here, and Sadducees come out. One of the writers only mentions Pharisees. One of them puts Pharisees and Sadducees. They're coming out to test or try or give Jesus a hard time, we might say. And we don't see them together a lot. We do occasionally. We haven't had a lot to do with the Sadducees so far. Pharisees have been involved with Jesus some so far. But now the Sadducees. And these aren't two groups that are going to get along a lot. I mean, they're different religiously. They're different. I mean, they're still Jewish, but they're a different approach to it. And they're different on the resurrection. And they're different politically, big time. And one's more friendly to Rome, the other one's totally opposed to Rome and things like that. But they come together here with a common enemy. That's what it amounts to with Jesus. And they want a sign. Show us a sign. We want to see a sign. And you got to stop and think. How many signs has he already done? They actually said, show us a sign from heaven, like they want something to happen in the heavens or something they can see. Not just all this healing and raising that Jesus has already done. So he talks to him a minute and he says, look, you can look at the sky, and if in the evening, the sky is red, it means fair weather. Because the clouds are pushed off to the sea and the sun's coming from the west through those clouds and it's got a red tint to it, okay? Then in the morning, if the skies are red, then you got stormy weather coming, because the clouds haven't pushed out to see it. So you can tell, you know how to tell the signs of the weather. Why can't you see the signs that are all around you about me? That's basically what he's saying. Why can't you see what I'm trying to show you? Why can't you see what the prophets wrote about all this time, that the Messiah was coming? Why don't you open your eyes and see that? So that you can see all this. So he calls them hypocrites. Hypocrites. They can determine the weather, but they can't see the signs of the times. The time that the prophets had appointed to. Think about Daniel and his writing and the statue and all this, and the Romans are now in power. All these things that would point to this being the time for the Messiah, and they couldn't see it. So he calls them an evil and adulterous generation. Adulterous, think about that a minute. God and his people. God and his people. And now, if adultery is involved in, what have they done? God hasn't moved, the people have. What have they done? They left their relationship there, and they've got a relationship now with, maybe not another God, but they sure have a relationship with Jehovah. So he calls them an adulterous generation. It's the only sign you're going to see the sign of Jonah. Of course, there he's talking about his resurrection is coming. You will see a sign. It'll be a sign like Jonah. It'll be 3 days in the heart of the earth, and there'll be a resurrection. And that's the sign that's coming. He left them to mess with them. I want to talk about these hypocrites for a minute, but I've really got to get back now and pick up what I left off and didn't get Sunday, because I talked too much about other stuff Sunday. So let's back up to the first part of Matthew chapter 15 and talk for just a minute about commandments and traditions. We'll jump down to the middle of it, start. Down in verse 8, this is after he's already had the conversation with them that we're going to back up and talk about in a minute. But he gets down there and it kind of summarizes it by saying, quoting from prophet Isaiah, these people draw near to me with their mouth, honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. So they're talking about me, they're trying to worship me, their mouth, their lips are honoring me, but their heart is not there. Their heart's in the wrong place. Okay? Vain then, he's saying as their worship. In vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines. And doctrine here just means the requirements of the religion. Teaching as the requirements of their religion that they're teaching. The teaching is doctrines, the commandments of men, therefore making their worship vain. Now, it sounds good out of their mouth, but the heart's not there. So the whole idea he's talking about here is eating with unwashed hands, so it starts the whole thing. So Jesus is saying it's not the unwashed hands that matters, it's the unwashed heart. The heart's what he's talking about, trying to get to. Now, with that kind of background, let's back up and actually get the story now. Let's go back to the first part of Matthew 15. Scribes and Pharisees were there from Jerusalem, came Jesus saying, why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders, for they do not wash their hands, for they eat bread? He answered them saying, why do you also transgress the commandment of God because of your tradition? God commanded, saying, honor your father and your mother. He who curses father and mother, let him be put to death. But you say, whoever says to his father and mother, whatever profit you might have received from me is a gift to God, that he need not honor his father and mother. You have made the commandment of God of no effect by your tradition. And what they're basically, well, let's go through it like this. Difference between tradition and commandment. Is it wrong to give to God? Do you have any problem with them giving to God? No. Is it wrong to make a promise or a vow to give to God? No. No problem with that either. Okay. What was the command that God had given in this case here? Honor your father and your mother. Okay. Well, the Pharisees' tradition. What have they done with it? They won't give it to the temple. So what it amounts to, they call it Corban, I think is the word for it. Let me read this out of the margin of the Bible. I got scribbled in here. To be given at my death, but until my death, I can use it. But since it's not the Lord's, it's for you. It is the Lord's, it's not for you. So basically what it amounts to is they're taking the money that he would have used to care for his parents with, and he's using it And at the end, if he's got any left, he would have carried his parents. I can't do that with them because I've committed it to God. Okay? I'm giving it to God. I've made this vow to God. I'm going to give all the money I have to him. Now, I used it for myself in the meantime, but at my death, it's going to go there. So I don't have any money. I'm sorry, parents, I can't help take care of you. So what's the problem? Which should have had preference? Commandment of God or the tradition of the Pharisees? Well, of course, commandment of God. That's Jesus' whole point here. So, I'm going to get into all this to bring this up. Because you're those of you teaching classes, think about this a little bit. Do we have traditions? Like maybe, what day is midweek Bible study on? Wednesday, right? Wednesday, right? Don't dare try to put it on another night. What would your kids think if you said, no, we aren't on Wednesday, we go on Thursday night now? I saw one of the guys from Africa that sent a report in and said we had our midweek Bible study last Friday night. That's not really midweek very much, but that's what he was doing. That's what they had there. It was Friday night. Anybody want to try to change this? Get off of Wednesday night? How many times meet on Sunday? Twice, right? We've always met on twice on Sunday. Got to meet twice on Sunday. Some places are, I think some in the county here now, I think we just meet one time on Sunday. Oh, but if you do that, by the way, you better take that extra hour you had at night and move it up and make sure you get 3 hours in on Sunday morning, because you got to get 3 hours in on Sunday, right? See where I'm going with all this? I've got to get my, and some people would have, if each side for some reason the other side not to have Sunday night service, how many people you think would say, I've got to go somewhere else on Sunday night? Because I can't sit at home on Sunday night, I've got to be at church somewhere. I'm not saying it's wrong to go somewhere else. That's the point. The point is, I've got to, because I always did. I've always gone on Sunday night. This may not be quite so bad. Let's see. Sunday morning we have 2 songs, Lord's Supper, song, prayer, song, sermon, song, right? Don't break that. That's fixed. Don't dare have another song pitched in there somewhere. Or whatever you want to make it. So, what's the danger of these things? What's my whole point? Before you answer that, let me put one more to you. Where I grew up, the men would come up to the table, they would serve the bread, they would serve the juice, they would pass out the trays and do the collection. They were all up there together. I mean, it's just a convenient time. Anything wrong with that? No? But why did we move ours separately? To have everybody understand that that's not part of the Lord's Supper, right? So, tradition versus, can it be moved? Yeah, we did. So what's the problem with these? What's the danger I'm trying to get to here? Maybe we understand these things, but take one of our, I'm going to call them our tweens. Take our 11, 12, 13-year-olds. You want to try to change some of these things for them? That's all they've seen all their life. So teachers, maybe we need to think about, when you get this part about traditions versus commandments, maybe it's a good time to try to emphasize to some of these students the difference that God hasn't said how many times we meet on Sunday. God hasn't said what night we meet Wednesday night on, what night we meet this week on. That's on purpose. Okay, so comments from anybody? Have I gotten? I made a big mess out of this. You understand?
I'm not arguing anything you've said, but there's also a big push going on out there to change it just for the sake of change.
Yeah, right. Just a second.
Which is?
I have a grandson. He belongs to these two back here. Don't change anything on him. He does not like change, okay? And Tracy's point is, we don't change just for the sake of being different. That's not the point. If there's a good logical reason to move to Thursday night, that's great. There's no problem with that. Or if you want to have reading first, like we did last Sunday night. Different. Reading, song, prayer, song, sermon. So. Okay, I don't make too big of a kick out of this, but I do want to get the point across, particularly if you're teaching and can start drilling some of this in the youngsters that are old enough to understand the difference between tradition versus commandments.
And it can be tough to leave those traditions.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you think of Peter when he was told, hey, you can eat meat now.
Yeah.
And he had a really tough time with it. Even
It took 3 times for that sheet to come down, right?
Yeah.
He had to come down 3 times to get Peter convinced. It's okay, Peter. Kill and eat. No. Can't do that.
I know that's not quite the same as
Yeah,
tradition.
it was a command of the past, right? Yeah, but the command was gone now. But yeah, you get the point. We don't change too easy. So, okay, commands take precedence, and the point is, I'm kind of getting, are we binding traditions? That's the key. So, okay, we got a little bit of time left. I'm gonna get one more point in here right quick. We won't quite get through everything that belongs tonight, but we'll catch up. John 20, verses 30 and 31, I put in the text to you this week to look at those 2 verses and really think about verse 31. Truly, Jesus did many other signs which are in the presence of the disciples, which are not written in this book, but these are written that you may believe. Why was he doing the signs during that time in the presence of his disciples and all the crowds out there? To get them to believe who he was, right? That was the whole point of doing all these miracles that he did, the signs he did. So now these things, this is for us, this part of it is. So we got 3 points here we're going to get to. Why? Why were these things written down? These are written that you may believe. Same thing he's trying to get them to do, right? Okay. Now, what are you going to believe? The next phrase of this verse. These are written that you may believe. Same thing, you try to get them to understand that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. That's why everything's written down for us to see it and read it. That's why we read about these signs and miracles we've been reading about here. Why? So we can believe. Believe what? That Jesus Christ is the Son of God. And what's the results of that? That believing you may have life in his name. That's the big point. So, go read this stuff. This is important stuff we're studying through this Life of Christ series and these miracles he's doing. Not just to get them to believe who he was, but it's also written down that we will believe who he is. And that believing will have life, eternal life. That's the point. Comments on that, anybody? Thoughts? Because of all the miracles he's doing, I wanted to just pitch that in and tie it into us here. Okay. We got about 60 seconds according to that clock back there. I don't want to get it. I got one more section here, but I don't have time to get it yet. So I need 60 seconds worth of comments here. Anybody? Your turn, Johnny. We are going to talk about next time about hypocrites a little bit. I'll tack that back on the end of the next classes. I didn't get quite to that tonight. He didn't call them hypocrites because they couldn't distinguish the signs. That's the word he used there. I'll talk about that word just a little bit. Get some thoughts about it. We'll get to that Sunday morning, along with whatever's next. Yes?
I have a question.
Sure.
Back to the sign of Jonah thing, this comment that he made, I didn't quite understand that, so when you expounded on that, it makes sense, but would they have understood what he's...
No, not to the point of the resurrection yet. They knew the story of Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. He said that's the sign to look for. There's going to be another sign of 3 days and 3 nights. That's the sign you look for. What he's referring to, of course, is him being in the grave 3 days and 3 nights and his resurrection. That's the sign that's coming. It's the resurrection. Okay? They would not have understood how that applied to him at this point. No, I don't think so. Thoughts? Anybody else on that?
We're going to talk about next week.
Do I?
Is it 3 nights?
Do what?
Are you going to talk about on Sunday how it's 3 nights?
No, not till we get next quarter.
No.
Yeah, next quarter we get into that because the whole next quarter is on that last week. And the point he's getting to is Jesus was killed crucified on Friday. So Friday night in the grave, Saturday night in the grave, rose Sunday morning, where you get your 3 nights. That's the question. That's the point he's bringing up. And we'll dig into that a whole lot next time. And I'll tell you how much I don't know about it. But it is in the slides for next quarter. It's something I'll talk about when we go through that, the resurrection part. Yeah.